You're listening to Extinction Radio FM. Listen to the podcast at extinctionradio.com.
Every morning when I get up, I turn my computer on, and I'm surprised that this whole existence is still there. And you know, someone like Dmitry Orlov, he covers this all the time about how the collapse, when it happens absolutely spontaneously, like combustion. And I really believe that will happen, because this Ponzi scheme that they're running is unsustainable.
Yes, absolutely. David Korowicz wrote, I think it was July 2012, an excellent analysis for the FASTA group. That's FEASTA, but pronounced FASTA. And he points out that once we have a disruption in the supply chain of anything important, and so that includes water coming through the taps, that includes delivery of petroleum to the gas stations, that includes delivery of food to the grocery stores, the disruption in the supply chain of anything important. He says from that point, it's as little as 3 weeks until it's game over for the worldwide industrial economy. So that's pretty quick turnaround. And I think making preparations in advance is absolutely critical. That waiting, the time to dig a well is not when you're thirsty. And so for communities to prepare, and that's what I used to do, was go around to communities and focus on the individual community and point out how they could prepare for those kinds of disruptions with gardening and putting their water up in the air in water towers. So they relied on gravity to deliver it through the taps and all that sort of thing. All that still applies. But there's just not a lot of interest amongst city planners, for example, in pursuing anything beyond what we have right now. And that's hugely problematic.
Yeah, we're just complete captives to the fossil fuel industry. We all see it at every turn, When you were here on your New Zealand speaking tour late last year, I showed you the big tunnels and the motorway systems that are all being constructed in New Zealand. All of them are being constructed for automobiles. None of it is being constructed for mass transport. We're just prisoners to these people.
Right. Yes, I'm afraid that's right. And even having the conversation to try to break out of the prison is very, very difficult because we're all captive. And so trying to convince people that they're not captive and maybe breaking out of this system is a good idea. That's a tough conversation to have. And so if we start having those conversations now, I suspect the chaos will be at least less. And in addition, surrounding yourself with people who are aware perhaps will make the situation better. Now, obviously, if you live in a relatively large city, you're not going to be able to have the conversation with everybody in the city. But maybe you can have the conversation with the people who you share a home with. And maybe you can have the conversation with people on your block. And so that might buffer a little bit the situation. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna about this. I think it will be truly catastrophic when people realize that the water is no longer there. On the other hand, I don't think people will then start shooting the dogs and eating the children so that they can keep fed. Rather, I think that once the water stops coming through the taps, it's a matter of days before a majority of the willfully ignorant people die from dehydration. And so I don't think there's going to be a lot of marauding hordes and looting gangs and that sort of thing who are trying to secure the last bits of food. I think that they're going to be too dehydrated to do that. But that's, we really don't know what the future looks like. And so that's yet another reason why I encourage people to try to live in the now.